Hey, I'm Scotty, and please bear with me. It's almost time for March 9th, but first, we have to settle the play-in games for our March Madness bracket. This is Please Bear With Me. Hey, what's up? I'm Scotty, and thank you so much for joining us as we have this little bonus episode as we continue to prepare for the relaunch of Please Bear With Me as a YouTube show on the Rogue Media Network. We will be live on YouTube on March 9th and then 5 Sunday nights following that for our 6-week spring run of the show, and we are going to run this March Madness bracket to determine the greatest football player that's ever played for Baylor. And several of you have already nominated your favorite Baylor football player from Baylor to be part of that field. And now that nomination form is closed, and we have 4 play-in matchups to determine which Baylor football players belong in this field when we relaunch the show on March 9th. Want to tell you really quickly that show on March 9th, it's going to be awesome. We've got so many good, sharp Baylor football people that will join us. Shehan Jayaraja of CBS Sports, my good friend, will be here with us. Cam Stewart of Locked On Baylor will join us. Alan Lefevre, Dr. Alan Lefevre, I should say, author of The History of Baylor Sports, will be present to give us some insight into the history of Baylor football and some of the players that maybe time has forgotten. Travis Corley, who hosted Please Bear With Me for 2 seasons after I stepped aside, will be here. Michael Bartlemay, longtime contributor to the show, will be here. Terrence Ganaway, who will be my full-time co-host for this show moving forward, will be here. It's going to be just a great celebration of everything Baylor football. And here's what I'm most excited about. Several former Baylor football players are going to join us live to talk about their careers at Baylor, the scope of Baylor football, celebrate Baylor football, and maybe talk a little smack about why they should move forward in the bracket. March 9th is going to be awesome. Please plan to join us live on YouTube. And if not, it'll be on all podcast platforms immediately after the fact. That is the format of the show going forward. Live on YouTube on Sunday nights, followed by a podcast that comes out immediately after with all the content. I just cannot wait to get this thing started. It's going to be awesome. Hey, speaking of coming back on March 9th, I want to thank Dichotomy, who's making it possible for us to come back. Dichotomy is one of our sponsors for this 6-week spring run. Dichotomy Coffee and Spirits here in Waco. Listen, straight up, Dichotomy is a great spot. If you're a Baylor student, want to go study, get some coffee, I'll go over there often while I'm working and get a cortado. It's awesome. Dichotomy really values excellence. So if you ordered an iced coffee at Dichotomy, you're not going to get something out of the fridge in a pitcher. They're actually going to do a pour over right there for you with a single origin coffee into that glass with ice, and it's going to be way better than any iced coffee you've had before. But Dichotomy is also my favorite place to go grab an old fashioned after work. If you want a quality cocktail made with the best spirits that's not going to break the bank and is going to be really balanced and nice to enjoy, to sip on with a friend or a date, listen, you can't do better than Dichotomy in Waco. I would encourage you to go check it out. And on March 2nd, which is coming up this Sunday, if you're with us as I release this episode, this Sunday at Dichotomy, they're celebrating Texas Independence Day, March 2nd, with a tiki bar, a Texas tiki celebration for Texas Independence Day. Go check out my friends at Dichotomy. Thank you to Dichotomy for their support. Here's what we're going to do. At some point in the 6-week run of Please Bear With Me, if you subscribe, you'll have a chance to win this Hydro Flask, the Dichotomy shirt behind me, as well as a $50 gift card to Dichotomy. I want to thank them for their support of Please Bear With Me. And I'll just say this really quickly. I promise I won't linger on this too long, but if you would like to support Please Bear With Me and what we're doing to excite people about Baylor football and cover Baylor football and celebrate Baylor football, please reach out. I would love to have you as a sponsor, your business, yourself, whatever. We can do that in a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways we can work together to benefit one another. I want to thank Dichotomy. We've got several other sponsors I'll announce soon. And if you want to be part of Please Bear With Me, please reach out and let me know. We'd love to have you support us as we move forward with the new show. Okay, let's do this. I know why you're here. I don't want to postpone it any longer. In the March Madness bracket for NCAA basketball, there are 4 play-in games. I believe 2 of those are for a 16 seed and 2 of those are for a 10 seed. That was way too convoluted and confusing as I was trying to put these brackets together. And honestly, that format doesn't make a lot of sense to me for what we're doing. We have 4 play-in matchups, 4 matchups to determine the 16 seed in each of the 4 regions that I will reveal on March 9th. So these are in practice the 16th and 17th seeds, but really it's play-in matchups to determine the 16th seed in each of the 4 regions, which we will announce on March 9th. And so I need your vote, your voice to determine which of these players gets into the field on March 9th. And now let's reveal those matchups and let the debate begin. First up, we have a matchup of a dynamic pass-catching wide receiver and a lockdown cornerback. It's Dominique Ziegler versus CJ Wilson. Both these guys, perhaps the 2 best players, if not 2 of the few best players from the Guy Morris era at Baylor. Dominique Ziegler was a clutch wide receiver. Listen, if you go look at his numbers, he does not put up the kind of numbers you will see from a lot of receivers during the Art Briles and onward eras. However, if you consider that he was playing with multiple different starting quarterbacks, that he was playing in an offense that was mostly inept due to its scheme and system, if you consider what he did on the field, the fact that he was a elite guy at jump balls, high pointing the football and bringing down difficult catches, if you consider his speed, his athleticism, and perhaps the most iconic Baylor football plays leading up to when we got good at football again, when Baylor upset number 12 Texas A&M at Floyd Casey Stadium, it was Dominique Ziegler who not only caught the touchdown pass from Sean Bell, but then immediately on the next play, the 2-point conversion. Dominique Ziegler is a great Baylor wide receiver, and he is competing to be in this field. Meanwhile, CJ Wilson, lockdown cornerback. CJ Wilson, maybe most infamously known for predicting that Baylor was going to win the national championship in 2006. He received national attention for that. Kind of goofy, but here's the deal. This dude had the play to back it up. The team may not have, but CJ did. CJ Wilson, a 2-year starter, had 9 interceptions as a junior and senior as a starter at cornerback. He was a true lockdown corner who took half the field away. He played in the NFL. CJ Wilson was a legit defensive back in a time when Baylor did not have a lot of legit players. And so you've got this crazy cool matchup of teammates, a receiver and a corner who were both very dynamic in a darker period of Baylor football's history. Which one of them belongs in the field? Make sure you vote to decide. Let's look at the next matchup. Next, we have 2 outstanding hard hitters, Maurice Lane and Clay Johnston. Maurice Lane, once again, a Guy Morris era player that might have been forgotten by a newer generation of Baylor Bears, but he shouldn't be. Maurice Lane was the second Baylor Bear ever to rack up 300 solo tackles in his career, behind only Mike Singletary. Maurice Lane was a Thorpe Award candidate. He was an All-American candidate and a All-Big 12 player at free safety. He was a dynamic, hard-hitting, flying around the field player who made all the big plays for Baylor's defense in those years, finishing up in 2005. Maurice Lane goes up against Clay Johnston. Now, some of you might see Clay Johnston in a play-in game and freak out, but here's the deal. Baylor's history at linebacker runs deep. But Clay Johnston belongs in the conversation. Clay Johnston, the leader of this Baylor team in the fallout from the Art Briles stuff all the way through the 2019 season when Matt Rule took Baylor to a Big 12 championship game and a Sugar Bowl appearance. Clay Johnston was the heart and soul and defensive captain of those teams. Clay Johnston, a steady, stalwart leader, a second-team All-Big 12 player, an NFL player. Clay Johnston, an outstanding character, quality, hustle, on-field player, but who also had the attitude and ability to tackle in space that you want from a starting middle linebacker. Clay Johnston, an elite player at Baylor, goes up against Maurice Lane. Facing off in another play-in matchup, we have Kari Long and Connor Galvin. Kari Long, again, a player who was dynamic and a force during a low period in Baylor's football history. You might remember Kari's corner there at Floyd Casey Stadium. Kari Long finished his career with 19 and a half tackles for loss and 9 sacks. He was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a dominant force at defensive end, inducted as a Baylor legend. Kari Long, the defensive end, squaring off against Connor Galvin, who in my opinion might be one of the most forgotten and underappreciated Baylor offensive linemen of the past 20 years. Connor Galvin still in the NFL as a member of the Detroit Lions. He was an elite offensive tackle named best offensive lineman in Texas by Dave Campbell's Football Magazine. He was an honorable mention All-American, a first-team All-Big 12 player. Connor Galvin, the anchor of Jeff Grimes and Dave Aranda's offensive line that allowed Abram Smith to rush for a school record single-season rushing yardage. Connor Galvin versus Kari Long, two big, dominant players for their time, facing off to see who gets in the field. And then last but not least, in perhaps the most intriguing matchup of this first play-in round, we have Stork, the school's all-time leading scorer and the NCAA, I believe's all-time leading scorer, Aaron Jones, the kicker, against Sawyer Robertson, current Baylor quarterback. Listen, you all know Stork, big leg, could hit 50-plus yard field goals with consistency. He was a weapon on the Art Briles teams that seemed to score at will in the mid-2010s. Aaron Jones, in statistically the best kicker in Baylor's history in terms of field goals and extra points made, and he goes up against Sawyer Robertson. And now all of us know that Sawyer Robertson played well this past season for Baylor, but some may not know how well. Sawyer Robertson finished 5th in total QBR this past season, finishing only behind 4 dudes who are all about to get drafted in April. He only finished behind Dylan Gabriel, Curtis Rourke, Cam Ward, and Jackson Dart. Sawyer Robertson has the best QBR of any returning quarterback in college football. He has truly elevated this Baylor offense to being more explosive, more dynamic, doing it with his arm and with his legs. He's the best Baylor quarterback since Seth Russell. And does he belong in this field of 64 on March 9th? You get to decide. It's Sawyer versus Stork. So there you have it. The play-in matchups are set. Go vote at the link in the description for who should be in the field on March 9th. It's your choice. Go make the call. I'm counting on you. Vote for free. It takes you 2 seconds on these matchups. Do a little research. See what these guys did or didn't do in their Baylor career, and you make the decision who belongs in the tournament field. It's going to be so fun. Join us on March 9th for the full bracket reveal. Many special guests. The comeback episode is going to be awesome. Thank you to Dichotomy. Thank you to our other sponsors who we will announce soon. I'm Scotty Swingler. For Terrence Ganaway, my co-host, for Travis Corley, and everybody else who will be here with us on March 9th. See you later. Sick 'em Bears. This has been Please Bear With Me.
We are Rogue Media Sports.